Hi everyone, I'm Ivana.
And I'm Preeti.
And this is Targum Tea, a podcast which focuses on pop culture reviews and social media. In today's episode, we will be talking about the Netflix documentary, American Murder, The Family Next Door. This review contains spoilers. So the documentary is basically, it's a true crime documentary film directed by Jenny Popplewell. And using like raw firsthand footage, the film tells the story of the 2018 Watts family murders and the terrible events that followed. So in summary, Chris Watts murdered his wife and 2 kids, and this film follows these events.
Yeah.
That's basically what this documentary is about.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Oh my God.
Point blank, period. This man is a psychopath.
This movie was horrifying.
Legitimately a psychopath.
Yeah. Honestly, though, like I'm not sure if it's the same for you, but I never heard of these murders ever. I like
really.
Yeah. No. I joined college in 2018. I didn't even hear of this at all. Yeah. So I was watching it, and like at first I was thinking maybe like she kills her kids and she vanished. Then I like couldn't hold in, I had to know what was going on. So like halfway through, I just looked it up on Google, and I'm like, oh my God.
You looked it up on Google before watching? Like, did you watch the film entirely and then looked up on Google?
Yeah,
Okay.
I started watching it, and then like when I got halfway through, I'm like, I have to find out who killed who. Like, is she dead? Is she still living? So I looked up.
You couldn't wait till the end?
Yeah, so I looked at the ending on Google, and then I went back and watched the rest of the movie. I was like getting stressed out. I'm like, what's going on?
Okay. So the film did good in tension because in the tension aspect, because you got freaked out. So
yeah, I did really good on that.
I knew about this because I think it was 2 years ago. I was just on YouTube, and it was it just appeared on my recommendations. I didn't know anything about it. And then when I clicked on it and like I watched like whole analysis of like, the scene in the film where Chris has his first interaction with the police officer when the police officer first came to his door, like, oh, where is your wife and whatnot. So that whole scene, I watched like a whole analysis breakdown of like body language, and like you could see how he was already guilty off the bat. And I'm like, wow, this is interesting. So when this film came out, I'm like, I gotta watch it. Like, I had to watch it.
At first, like
he's such a psychopath.
Yeah. Oh my God. Though I was I'm shocked at like how much raw live footage there is. Like in most cases, I feel like no one gets this much raw footage ever. You get like snippets and it's done. And the next thing was that I feel like the lady Shannon, I want to call her
Shannon,
but
yeah, Shannon.
Yeah. So she posted a lot on Facebook. So at first I thought like someone was gonna like track her down because of like all the things that people
all the Facebook.
But honestly, let's talk about.
Wait, can I ask you a question? So you didn't think like since this was your first time hearing about the murder, since you didn't know what it was gonna be like, did you, while watching the film, did you think he was guilty?
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing.
Like before Googling it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Here's the thing, like halfway through, my mind was going in two ways. Either someone came in and kills her that way through Facebook, or I mean, I'm pretty sure like her husband was acting like shifty, like what people said, like as you said, like in the very first scene when the cops came in, one of the friends said that, oh, he never acts like this. He's talking a lot. He's moving around and at first I'm like, but I'm like, this is going somewhere. So, it's something to keep in mind. And so at the end, it was like a 50-50. Right. Either the father did something or someone killed her. Like, I have to figure out which one. So,
well, I felt like he was already guilty right off the beginning because just his body language, like when he got out of the car, he went into put yourself into this position, like if your family was missing, somebody would be concerned and worried and running to the door. Like he was just taking his time. He took like a whole 2 minutes to open the officer back up. He was always on his phone. And when somebody's like genuinely worried about your loved ones being gone or whatnot, you would be asking so many questions. He was just, when you're trying to hide something, you have a lot of answers, you know? And that's what he was doing. He was just answering and like, oh my God. It was so like, so upsetting to watch. He's such a psychopath.
I feel like the weird thing was that he was able to plan out the way he was going to kill them. But after that, he couldn't seem to like get away with it really well. I'm not saying like he would have, but the way that he was acting through this whole thing, as you said, like he didn't like run toward the door. He didn't even cry. Like these are like really obvious signs that I feel like if he was trying to actually get away with killing, you know, his wife and his kids, he would have done something like that. But the fact that he didn't, I mean, I'm not sure. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm thinking like maybe he just didn't want to get away with it or something. But that's insane.
He's just a bad liar too. Oh, yeah. I mean, you really think? I mean, who's gonna get away with that? You really think you're gonna
kill your family and be a bad
kill
liar?
your family and get away with it though? That's not possible. Yeah. What was he thinking? Oh my God, I'm so upset with it. Yeah. But what you mentioned about the Facebook clips, that like I first want to give like an applaud to the editors because literally
so well done.
It was structured very well for what it was. And it's like I liked how they basically made a whole film through found footage. And that was just like, wow, like they really had to like think of a structure and like figure out how to do that. So like good job, editors. And I really like how they like structured it was like in the middle of the film where they specifically intercutted between 3 days before murder and they showed that event. And then they cut to 3 days after murder. Then they went from 2 days before murder. Then they cut to 2 days after murder to show like the past and you know what I mean? I really liked that part.
Really well done. That was really well done.
I just want to say something, how like the fact that they made a whole movie on just her Facebook videos, like that's how much she was using social media. She made imagine making a whole film out of your own
Facebook entries.
This is I don't know what to say.
I know,
this
right?
Was such so
shocking. This is one of the things that makes me really nervous about like getting married. Like, what if I get
married?
That's
what I was thinking too.
Like, well,
it's just one of those things where it's just like, wow, you really can't trust nobody because how like they showed scenes of them married, you know what I mean? The getting married and like how she was talking, like especially in the beginning. Okay, the beginning sequence was edited so well because they showed Shannon, her personality, then they showed the relationship between her and the kids, then they showed the relationship between everybody and like the father too, Chris, and it's like you can see them as like I guess a normal family, you know, and they were all getting along really well. And then they showed like scenes of them being married and then how she was talking about Chris, just seeing their relationship, like, oh, he treats me so well and this and that, and then boom, I don't want to get I can't trust nobody. I can't trust no man.
That's true. But honestly, I think this movie did a really good job of giving a few reasons like why he may have like killed his kids. Like to start out, like this movie, I mean, a lot of focus is on like the 5 months or like this the 5 weeks where she goes to meet her parents and her brother and he stays back at home. And what we find out is that during these 5 weeks when he's back at home, he's with his mistress. He's cheating on her basically, and he's with her for basically this whole time. And then she's like, and his wife's like, I'm pretty sure, you know, he's cheating on me. And I think she was texting her sister about her problems, right? I'm not sure who she was texting about.
I think it was a friend. Yo, I don't know who that girl was. Like Shannon was basically pouring her whole heart on like her relationship problems to her, and all she said was, girl, don't say that. And I'm like, what? Know, like, right? Why is she? I don't know who that was.
Yeah, but, they didn't give a name, but she was basically, as you said, she was pouring her heart out to this friend, I guess, this sister. I'm not sure. I don't think she had a sister. But basically, he comes back and he goes to visit his wife where she's at with his parents, and he just acts distant this whole time. And I think it was really interesting because I think in the span of like what, even though these like 5 weeks has something to do with it, he got with his mistress in like 6 months, and the changes that took place, like he got fit, he was cheating on her, he acted a bit differently, I think. And his parents, oh my god, his parents didn't like his wife. Parents didn't like Shannon
at all
Chris's
since the
parents didn't like
beginning.
Shannon. Yeah, and I don't know. I feel like it was an insight onto like how, you know, people can just
Yeah,
be
he was also
evil.
very through those texts that he's been sending her through, like on the 6-week vacation that she went on.
Yeah.
Like those texts, I've noticed how manipulative those texts were that he was like sending her. I was so angry. Like when they kept showing those texts that like she was concerned about the relationship and she was trying her best to like communicate with him and like, yo, what's going on? Why aren't you touching me? Blah blah blah. Like this is your husband. You know what I mean? And she's like,
Mm-hmm.
why aren't you calling your kids? He's not. What kind of father doesn't call their kids? You
Yeah.
know what I mean? He
Mm-hmm.
wasn't calling them. He wasn't calling her. And it was just like him saying like trying to act like the good guy saying, oh, sorry, oh, I love you, and continually like that was so manipulative of him because he's trying to make her seem like crazy, I guess, and like make him seem like the good guy, like, oh, nothing's wrong, when obviously everything's wrong.
Yeah.
And just like
And
that built up.
She wrote out a full letter, and the letter was so sweet. She's like, hey Chris, like I really like love you. I mean,
I'm
gonna like act nice towards your parents. Like we're not gonna have any fights. I'm in this for this marriage. I'm gonna fight toward it, you know, for it. And he just, I don't know. But the one question I want to ask you is, do you think that Chris was always like an insane killer person, or do you think something happened within like the past year, something that changed him to kill his wife and kids?
I don't know. And I feel like I don't know. I feel like the film, that was one of my concerns though about the film. When I was watching this film, like I finished it and I was like, something's missing.
Yeah.
Like something's off about this film and something's missing about like with this film. And then I got to thinking, I was like, okay, you're better off, to be honest, watching, like Googling the Watts murders, YouTubing it. This film, watching this film was basically like a neatly edited news segment. Like I was watching like a good news segment. That's what I felt like I was watching, because I didn't really get something out of this film, or like they didn't really they didn't present the film in a like with anything new. They didn't really, you know what I mean? They didn't really give
exactly
anything like a new perspective, a new thing.
Yeah.
So I felt like for this film, I feel like this film like had so many themes to work with. Like they could have talked about marriages, dysfunctional marriages, psychopathic traits, like they could have talked about like so many things, and they didn't really like even attempt to investigate or explore those themes. And they should have, what I think they should have done was explore more about the reasoning behind
the murder,
why he's acting like that. Like he's literally a psychopathic murderer. Like they should have, I feel like it would have been more interesting to try and dive into that, and dive into like try and figure out, explore those reasonings and try to figure out why Watts did this. So, and like get into his brain and like try to explore this behavior and like have a new perspective.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely think like what you're saying is like completely like spot on, especially because like this movie, it gives a lot of hints as to like what could have been possible like triggers. Like for example, like they were married for like 8 years or something, and he chooses to kill her, like, and his parents, obviously like your parents aren't gonna know like you're gonna kill your wife, but why after 8 years, like, you know, and you know, like how come like her parents didn't think like anything was wrong? Like, you know, I feel like sometimes parents are like, this is a weird person sometimes, you know?
Right.
I don't know. I feel like this is such a horrifying thing that I'm kind of shocked that no one had warning bells about him. Like,
but that's what makes
Chris's wife didn't like. Oh, that's true. Yeah, Chris's parents didn't like his wife, so I feel like if her parents didn't like him, people would have been like, oh, you know, there's something like parents didn't
right.
There's something to show that this could have happened, but 8 years, no one thought anything. It's horrifying, you know.
It is horrifying, and that's literally what makes a psychopath. Like there are some psychopaths that are like out there, and there are some that are quiet and like introverted like Chris Watts and does not have any humane characteristics about him, and it's just plain like he doesn't. Wow, this was so upsetting to watch. It's just how he. Okay, there was a scene in the documentary where he was confessing to what he did finally. I think it was 3 months like with the FBI or what it was like some organization. He was confessing. He literally said, oh my god, that was the most upsetting part of it was I literally gagged. Like he threw his kids in the oil tank, right?
Yeah.
And before this is what happened. This might be like a trigger warning for people, but this is basically like real life what happened, what he said happened, like his so he said he got into before getting into that bed that night with Shannon, with his wife, he went to the kids' room, smothered them with a pillow until they couldn't breathe. So he thought they were dead. He killed his kids. Then he went into the bedroom and then killed his wife, right? Like he choked her. Then the kids come in and I thought they were dead. So then he drags her body into the car with the kids and drives up to the oil thing. And what he said when he was reiterating this, he said that the last thing I heard was my daughter say, "Daddy, no." And he covered her head with a blanket and threw her in. That's so upsetting. That's a psychopath. And the fact that when they were interviewing him, he just said that very calmly. Like the fact that he just didn't care. The fact that he went through the whole process, the whole beginning sequence of the police trying to figure out what was happening in his home, like he was acting like nothing happened, like, oh, where is my wife? Where are my kids? The fact that he went on TV and said, I just want my kids back he said, I just want those kids back. He didn't even say my kids. He said those kids. Bro, those are your kids. Why aren't you like, it's just upsetting to see someone not care, to just simply murder their own family. That's crazy to me.
Because I feel like oh my god. So honestly, the fact that like when he said like my kids are in the oil tank, I like froze up. Like I was just staring at the screen in shock. Like that's like, oh my god, who does that, you know? But honestly, the one thing that I found really interesting was how he ended up like confessing, quote unquote. Like he went in for a polygraph test. Like he knew he wasn't gonna
that whole thing took 7 hours. The film just cut it down.
Yeah. The whole polygraph test sequence was just insane. Like he goes in and it's obvious that, you know, he's not telling the truth or something. And then when they call him back and he's like, yo, and the cops are like, hey, we know you're lying, just tell us, you know, like what happened.
Right.
And he says, and at first he tries, he's like, no, I didn't say anything wrong. And then when they push a bit more, he's like, oh, you know, I'll just say, oh, I'm cheating, because he did cheat. So I think he thought like saying that would kind of get them off his back.
Right.
And then he obviously says, and then they have to get his father in because he tells it all to his father first. And
yeah, but he said a lie.
Yeah,
he said that his wife murdered the kids.
Yeah, but
my goodness.
But it's really, there's one moment like when he's talking to his dad that stuck out to me, that when he's like, oh, my wife killed my kids, and then he whispers, oh, I had to kill her, and the dad's like, what? He's like, and he changes to oh,
yeah, I saw that. I repeated that like twice. I was like, wait, what?
Like, yeah, he said he had to kill her. Like,
it's so upsetting,
and it's horrifying. It's like, why would, I don't know, like, why would, I feel like I wish the documentary did more of what you said. I wish they kind of went into why he may have killed them, or because it's, as you said, it's a very nice overview of what happened. It's a very nice and very condensed overview of what happened. But it doesn't make any sense. But then I guess, like, if you kill your wife and kids, you don't need any reason. You're just insane. So,
right. I feel like they could have also showed, because Chris Watts is a literal, I keep saying he's a psychopath, but he's literal psychopath. And I feel like they should have shown more of how he's such a narcissistic jerk. They should have shown, because they cut so much off, because I watched so much stuff like 2 years ago about this, and he's literally like so narcissistic. He's such a jerk, and they didn't really show that much of that of him, and I wish they did, because
kind of okay, you know,
they needed to. He's a murderer.
Yeah,
He's a murderer. They needed to show those parts of him, because, and they cut that out, and I'm like, what? Why? Like, no, put that in and show how. My goodness, I just can't get over it. It's so upsetting.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like the one thing that one more thing that kind of interested me, like his cheating partner, I think her name was Nicole, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So she, like, when the cops like were asking her like, oh, like, did you ever tell him anything about not liking his wife, or like wanting to start a brand new, and like not liking his kids and all that? I feel like, and she said no, and I don't think she's lying or anything, but I feel that was really interesting thought that the cops said. Like, what if he killed them
so because of her?
Be with her?
No.
To start over.
Yeah, but I don't think she. I mean, she had a lot. I feel like this film should have portrayed more of her, because there's also so many videos that I watched of Nicole like Kessinger, and she's not as guilty, but like she definitely played a part in this like toxic triangle that was being played in. Like she definitely played a horrible part. Like they didn't really include that much of her, and they should have. I don't know why they didn't. I didn't finish the video yet, but it's like a whole 30-minute video, and they go into how she was just feeding into, she knew. She lied. Like in the film, it says like, oh, I didn't know that she was pregnant. I didn't know that he had a wife. He told me that he was going to separate from her. No, she knew, like, she knew everything, and she fed into that. And it was just a toxic relationship that they were having. And I have to keep watching it, but it like gets worse. And like I was reading the comments while I was watching, and everybody's saying how, yeah. So
she knew, yeah.
They should have. I don't know why they didn't include more.
I feel like the one thing that you can tell, like if you watch the cops talking to both Chris and Nicole, the one thing that you can tell is that they both answer back in very like odd ways. Like it's not something that like I feel like if somebody was accusing me of like killing like my partner, I'd be like horrified. I'd be like,
I'd be
putting more emotion into my voice and probably like yelling at them like, no, I didn't do this, How can you even think that? They both just answered in very odd ways.
Right? I think she also kind of knew, because in the video that I was watching, he sent her like love letters throughout, and like in one of the love letters he said, I'm like, don't worry, something big is being planned, da, 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 and we will be together forever. Like I feel like she knew something, because
or at the very least, I feel like if she didn't know, she was stupid not to have left him. Like those were so many weird things going on that she should have been like, I don't like where this is going, I don't care, and that she should have left him. But the fact that she didn't, I think it just makes her look really bad.
Well, moving on from that, did you like the score? The music was like, for me,
I didn't listen to it. I was so invested in what was going on that I didn't even listen to the score. I'm like, I guess it was like the normal, like the general score that keeps on going on through a lot of it didn't click with me.
I usually, because like scores usually stick out to me, and like it helps, like scores and like music and sound design for me, it helps me see if like the film it goes along with it, or like if the film works for me, you know what I mean? So for the music, I feel like one specific cut that I liked about the score was how there was a scene where Shannon, it was on a Facebook video, and she says, I couldn't have asked for a better man, which was Chris, right? Oh yeah. So then it cut right to a shot of Chris in present time, right? Yeah. And it went from like the music behind it was, there was a major chord in I couldn't have asked for a better man. And then it switched to a minor chord when they cut to Chris in
chord.
present time. And I was like, ooh.
That's a good way.
That was such a good edit because it affected the mood. I was like, oh, wow. And the soundtrack was really good.
Yeah, I would definitely give this movie a watch because the way that, what you just said, like the way that they edited this whole movie was so well done. They took
So well done.
slides, they took, pieces and bits, and they made a really good movie out of it. So I would definitely recommend.
Right.
I have one question. So do you think that the documentary made Chris Watts seem human more, and like was this like the right thing to do?
They should have showed more sides of him being the narcissistic person, like jerk he is. That's what I thought they should have done more, because they showed a lot of him. Well, I mean, I think it did humanize him in a way, but what he did was inhumane, so I didn't really that like it was a big contrast. Like you saw shots of him like crying and this and that, but we obviously know he's lying when he's crying, so it just made him seem more psychopathic to me. So all I'm saying is they should have just included more of him being like narcissistic and like just the true person he is. But yeah, the film did a fine, like they just showed. I feel like they didn't even really just pick a side. They just presented how it went, but they took a lot. They just took a lot out. I also like how they showed instead of telling. Like they didn't. There was no narration. There was no this and that, but they showed like the beginning sequence where they were showing like the text and the missed calls and the missed texts. That was perfect because it's like we're creating the narrative. Yeah. We're not creating the narrative, but we're creating the story for ourselves and like trying to pick pieces of the puzzle instead of them telling us you know? What about you?
Yeah, same actually. And honestly, I think just because of like all that in general, like my rating for this movie would definitely be like a 4.5. Like while there are a few things that I just didn't like, a few questions I had, I would definitely give this a 4.5 out of 5. So,
I'll give it a 3 out of 5.
That's because
well, you know what? I had it at 2.5, but then when you rated it higher, I was like, maybe I should give it
okay.
Maybe because it's just because I've watched so many. I just watched so much of this 2 years ago, like on YouTube, and I watched and like I Googled and this, that I just felt like I was rewatching the YouTube video, you know, and I wanted something new. So for me, you know what, I'm gonna keep it at 2.5. I'm gonna keep it at a 2.5 out of 5. That's my score.
I think it makes sense that you gave it the rating that you did. I've never watched it. I didn't hear about it.
Right.
And so I think for me, it's a really nice, because now I think I do want to learn more about it. So I think I'm going to go on YouTube and watch a lot of the videos.
Oh, please. Yeah. It's so interesting. It's like, wow. Oh, so upsetting, but interesting.
Yeah. And that's all for today. Join us next time on Targum Tea for more reviews. And make sure to follow the Daily Targum on our Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube for more content.